The topics and opinions expressed on the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4WN Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4WN Radio, its employees, or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4WN Radio.
Hello and welcome to Fearless, Fabulous You. I am your host, Melanie Young, and it is a wonderfully, beautifully hot, humid, sultry southern day in New Orleans. And I have a sassy, sunny, wonderful guest who is going to lift everybody up and refresh us all with some amazing expertise. We're talking about local friend and renowned cocktail mixologist muse. I call her the Mixologist Muse, Abigail Gullo, who is the consummate hospitality professional and a friend. I've known her for years. She's been on my other show, The Connected Table. In fact, I was just listening to it to prep for this show. And I invited her on for several reasons. One, I got back from Italy and I'm just craving spritzes. I mean, it was so hot in Italy. It was like a heat wave over 100 degrees every day, and everybody was out having spritzes because the Italians know how to handle this, I think, better than the Americans. Back here in New Orleans, it's a heat wave too, and every afternoon I say it's time to be Italian and spritz it up and relax with a light, refreshing libation. I also have been drinking a lot of lower alcohol wines, and last night I crushed up the remains of a watermelon and stuck some pisco in it and a lime and made my own little homemade juicy mixer, anything to freshen up. So we're going to talk about what you can do to have refreshing cocktails now and year round, and also some tips for having the best, most fabulous bar for your pleasure and entertaining. But we're going to talk about Abigail also because she's really a fearless, fabulous woman. She is an award-winning Bartender of the Year many times over. She has been recognized by the James Beard Foundation. This year, she was a semifinalist for Outstanding Professional and Cocktail Service. She has appeared on the Today Show. She has made drinks with Stephen Colbert, who's my favorite late night host. And if you are lucky enough to come to New Orleans, which I hope you are, because it's where I live and I chose to live, you can find some of her creative libations at Loa Bar at the International House Hotel, which is a great place to hang out and one of my top 10 bars in the city. We're coming into a big event here in New Orleans. It happens every July called Tales of the Cocktail. I know Abigail's super busy. I know that I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to juggle a million events, but she is taking time to join me on Fearless Fabulous today. So Abigail, welcome.
Thank you so much, Melanie. It's such a pleasure to be here and see your beautiful, fabulous face.
Well, I can't wait to see you in person and take a splash in the pool. Hey, I just learned something new about you. You are now a mermaid. On top of all your other talents, you're now a certified water aerobics instructor. What happened there? How did that come about?
Oh, well, last year I was suffering greatly under our Louisiana heat coupled with perimenopause, and I just needed to be submerged in the water at all times. And I started taking classes at the New Orleans Athletic Club and fell in love with my students, with my fellow students, and with the teacher. And when she announced she was having knee surgery, I said, well, I'll get certified so I could sub and keep up with your classes. And she had a successful surgery and she's come back and taken most of her classes, but I still have one or two and I still sub. And I'm actually, the classes are getting so popular that I'm thinking about creating a new dance class in the water.
So you're going to have to come over to, I do water aerobics. I do it by myself, but I'm so inspired to learn more about this because we all need multiple ways to figure out what we're going to do with the rest of our life. I love exercising in the water, and I'm lucky enough to have a pool, as you know, because you visited. So you'll have to come over here and we'll dance in the water together.
I will show you all the moves, babe. I mean, I am certified now, so wow, I can instruct. I'm a certified mermaid.
I think that's so awesome. Do you wear a mermaid outfit?
Oh gosh. Yeah, I do actually. I have a Little Mermaid bathing suit, of course.
I love it. Well, you make waves all over the place, and you've certainly made waves in the world of mixology and great cocktails, winning awards. I mean, I was just rereading when we last interviewed you for the Connected Table, you just won $15,000 for the Heaven Hill Bartender of the Year. What did you do with all that money?
I used it as a down payment for my first home.
That's so awesome. I love that story. So, that's a lesson to everybody there. If there's a contest, enter it, because you can't win if you don't enter. I mean, I'm going to enter the Bayou Radio contest to get a portable generator because I'm worried about hurricanes, and I'm going to listen to the song. I'm going to enter everything because you got to do that. It's so amazing.
Yeah. That was an extraordinary trip. And just, I met such wonderful people as part of that trip. It was in Puerto Rico. It was my first time to Puerto Rico. I fell in love with the island. I fell in love with the people there. And it really changed my life. And that was life-changing money for me. We are bartenders. We subsist on tips. And in a seasonal city like this, it was very hard to kind of get ahead and save up enough money to buy a home. And that little bit really helped push me over the edge and help me get my first home.
Well, it's true these days. Listen, I'm a writer. I don't make any money, and I do a podcast. Where are my sponsors? But you got to juggle a lot of things these days to get ahead, and you certainly have. I also remember that you studied theater in college. So your original goal was to be an actor, which is also one of those jobs where you have to take a lot of jobs to get ahead. What did you perform in any shows?
I did. I was lucky enough to, I kind of, in a young person's folly, was very proud of the fact that I was a working actor in New York City and never had to wait tables or work in hospitality. I managed to get enough work, either behind the scenes or in front of working the boards off Broadway. And I also supplemented by teaching. I kind of fell more into the teaching route because I wanted to have my evenings free to work in theater, live theater. So a hospitality job just didn't seem to make sense for me. So I took jobs, early morning jobs as a early childhood development specialist in teaching. And then because of my background and my degree in theater, I became a drama teacher and helped manage a children's theater company.
Well, here's a tip for you. My late mother, Sonia Young, the Purple Lady of Chattanooga, also majored in theater here at Sophie Newcomb College, now Tulane University in New Orleans. And theater has always been in my DNA. She also became a childhood developer. She worked with children with learning disabilities and later became an adjunct professor at the local University of Tennessee at Chattanooga in the theater and speech department, teaching public speaking. So a theater degree can mean so many things. If anyone's trying to think about what to do with the rest of their lives or as you're starting out, it can lead you to so many other areas that can help other people develop skills as well. So that's a lot we have in common. I love the theater.
It's wonderful. It develops such beautiful soft skills. I had a wonderful professor. He just retired this year, Ed Juro, who's still a working actor as well. And he told me something that stuck with me in my first class with him. He said, 90% of acting is reacting, and you can't react unless you're a good listener. So the soft skills that I developed as an actor, being a good listener, working together as a team in theater, but also willing to stand up and improv and think outside of the box and be a leader and stand up when that leadership is needed. These soft skills have really helped me in all aspects of my career. And in this stage of capitalism, quite late, it is important that we are able to pivot from job to job. And I'm happy to say that I've been able to pivot in career to career and found success and happiness wherever I land. And it's mostly due to these amazing skills that I developed as a theater professional. And, the absolute privilege and assistance of my supporting and loving family, of course.
Well, where did you grow up?
We moved around a lot when I was a kid. My dad was a radio broadcast journalist, and my mom was a historical romance writer. And he often, people asked if my dad was in the military, and my dad would answer, no, she's an Air Force brat. He was a radio journalist. So we spent some time in outside of Atlanta, Georgia, in Northern Virginia. Was born near Western New York, where my dad was from, and spent some time on Long Island, where my mom was from. So, and the Hudson Valley for a long time as well. So, mostly up and down the Atlantic coast, though, was kind of where I grew up, and just like the skills you pick up when you're doing theater shows, or just like the skills you pick up, quite honestly, as a bartender, moving from gig to gig, you pick up skills along the way. You pick up habits from the people you love and admire and respect, and adopt them into your own life. And I think that also really helped me when I was growing up. Of course, I rebelled as soon as I became an adult and moved into a rent-stabilized apartment in New York City and stayed there about 20 years. So that was my rebellious age.
I did that too. My mother's comment was, "You're going to be," no, what she says, "New York is going to age you."
Yeah, yes, you do. You have to grow up quickly in New York. That's true, because it's a city of survival. You have to learn how to survive very quickly.
Although these days it seems like everybody's surviving, not just New York. Thanks to your skills, you have survived and thrived. What led you into really embracing almost full time, a career in bartending and mixology, which are really different in many ways, but come together as well. What was the reason that you decided to just go whole in?
Well, it was a matter of circumstances. Like I said, I had been teaching for a long time. I'd been performing as well, and unknowingly developing these skills to be a great bartender. And I was always a cocktail nerd ever since I was a little girl. So I was well aware of the scene when it started to change in New York at the turn of the 21st century. And I saw I saw restaurants developing better cocktail programs. I went to cocktail bars. I got to see, Dale DeGroff at work at the Rainbow Room and at Windows in the World, and find and seek out the people who were creating the cocktail culture that I was interested in, that I had always kind of recreated in my house for house parties, but never really could find out in the real world. And then suddenly I happened to be there as these places are developing. So it was a wonderful circumstance that, coupled with the 9/11, which was a terrible disaster for New York City. The two biggest job creators in New York City before 9/11 was finance and the arts. They created the same number of jobs. After 9/11, that got all lopsided. And the final nail in the coffin was the global crisis of 2008. Right. For the kind of work that I did in nonprofit, in the creative arts and the theater, I just couldn't see a path to survival anymore. And I looked to these cocktail bars that were thriving and thought, wow, even when times are bad, people drink. Maybe I should. And, like I said, I was a cocktail nerd, and I was only interested in kind of craft cocktails. And suddenly that was all the rage. So it was the right place at the right time.
You jumped the wave. You jumped on the wave. And, it's true, in times are bad, people still have, people need to eat and drink, and they want to be nourished, and they want to be made to feel welcome. I mean, that's the whole origin of the boarding houses and the bars, is people went there to gather. It was how they gathered and connected. Because remember, way back then, there was no internet, there was no phones. It's the only place to gather was at these bars to have a community, a communal feeling. And it's still that way. As I walked around, Dave and I walked around Italy, you get that sense people have that aperitivo hour. It's like the magic hour where suddenly all the tables turn orange because everybody seems to be drinking Spritz, which I'm not an Aperol Spritz drinker, but I do like Spritzes. It's like, at the end of the day, it's like the bridge drink between, that for me, an aperitivo, they say it's to prepare your before eating and whatnot. But for me, it's that bridge drink where you just put the day away. It's the twilight drink just before sunset, where you just sit and go, let's just chill and recap. And it's so refreshing. And it's really gripped me here in New Orleans because of the heat. I eat lighter later, drink lighter later. And looking for that refreshing thing. And we were talking with Charlotte Vosse last week. It was like spritzes are just here to stay, but other kinds of cocktails, craft cocktails are at every layer, and goodness knows what I'll discover at Tales of the Cocktail next week. But I learned two things about you. One, you told us that the Connected Table that you could read someone's body language to decide what kind of cocktail person they are and what they would like. Talk to me about that.
I think it's really important that that when you are listening to somebody, you're listening beyond words. You're listening to their eye contact and their body language and how they're feeling, and kind of interpret that and help nudge them into, because sometimes people come and they don't know what they want to drink, and that's why they come to you. They're asking you, and they'll say like, well, what do you like? And I'm always redirecting them from that, because, we're individual people who have individual needs. What I like may not be what they like. But I could also say, well, I don't know. It's really hot right now. I feel like I can go for something light and spritzy. Does that sound good to you? And I could bounce something off of them like that. And then watching them, how they react. When you give them suggestions, you watch very carefully on how they react. If there's hesitation, go, no, that doesn't seem like what you want. Let's try something else. So you're always watching for that reaction. And that physical reaction is going to tell you even before, because we're very self-conscious, right? We don't want to hurt other people's feelings sometimes. And we get nervous. And especially like post-COVID, people are so awkward now, don't know how to act in public, right? Don't know how to interact with people. And I always have a joke when we have like a particularly difficult person at the restaurant or at the bar. I used to say, oh, it's okay. Be gentle with them. It's their first time ever in a bar. And they would be like, really? And I'm like, no, but they're acting like it. Sometimes we act like, is this my first time here? I don't know how to act. I don't know how to behave.
Some people get nervous and they go for different reasons. Sometimes they're happy, sometimes they're sad, sometimes they want to be alone, sometimes they want to meet people. You have to understand that. And you've worked at a lot of places that are of note. I think we first met you when you were at Sobu, and then at Compare Le Pen, and then you went to Oregon for a while, and then you went, I don't know where else after that. And then suddenly you're back here in New Orleans where you belong. And I love that the title you have is creative director. Is that still right? Creative director of Loa Bar. Yeah. I put so much more into it than just making drinks. Right. I know.
We create menus there. Loa is such a special jewel box of a bar. It's like the first craft cocktail bar in New Orleans. We opened up 27 years ago. First boutique hotel in New Orleans. We're located, nestled right downtown, and have this real distinct point of view, a sacred and authentic taste of place that is New Orleans. And it's not just the Spanish and the French, but it's Haiti, and it's Havana, and it's Vietnam and Senegal, and Loa is the name references the pantheon of Haitian voodoo gods. So I really feel like witchcraft happens at that bar. We have an altar. We light a candle every day there. We have throughout the year ceremonies, including a voodoo ritual in the lobby of the hotel. So we take it very seriously, this connection to place, and that's something that always really appealed to me. So the creative director title encompasses all of that, creating this feeling throughout the year in the hotel, not just for the people who are visiting, but for locals as well, to have place, this established place that connects you to the authenticity of New Orleans.
Your cocktails tell a story too, right?
Yes, absolutely. Every cocktail it's very important that they tell a story. Yeah. Sometimes I come up with a story before the cocktail.
So tell me a story in a glass.
A story in a glass. Well, I mean, the most obvious one is the story of New Orleans can be told in a glass of the Sazerac,
right? From
the Antoine Peychaud and his refugee status, fleeing the Haitian Revolution, this sacred mix of West African and Caribbean Creole traditions in his bitters, to the rinse of absinthe with our French connections, and the cognac and rye, our French and our American connection, even down to the sugar, which is still our number one crop here, and the twist of lemon, our Sicilian connection, right? More Sicilians came through the port of New Orleans than Ellis Island. The history of New Orleans can be seen in a Sazerac glass. And I kind of love that.
I love it too. And I remind the Sicilians every time we go there, there was a huge Sicilian American population heritage, and you need to come bring your wines to New Orleans. We're trying to we want a Sicilian wine and food week to create here.
I would love that.
Great?
Oh,
yes.
my goodness.
Gotta get the funding. I'm working it.
Best.
Yeah, I'm working it.
Yeah. I went to visit my great-great-grandfather's hometown with my parents, and we found relatives.
Where is it?
It's Ali Manusa. It's a little hilltop rural town, agricultural town, about 2 hours outside of Palermo, heading towards Caltanissetta. And we just had so much fun. But yeah, I was reminded of traveling with my parents and sitting down for aperitivo hour, and them enjoying the snacks and enjoying our spritzes, and then going back to the hotel and coming in out, getting changed for dinner. And my parents are in their pajamas. I'm like, what are you doing? And they're like, what are you doing? I'm like, getting ready for dinner. They're like, we just had dinner. I'm like, that wasn't dinner. That was aperitivo hour. We still have to go.
Yeah, I know. For anyone who does, aperitivo is like a happy hour, but better for so many reasons. A happy hour, the concept is happy hour, get happy, get drunk, have a half price drink. Aperitivo hour is really about savoring a moment, that dolce far niente, where you really don't have to do anything, but just have a drink, maybe some cicchetti and potato chips and some, a lot of potato chips and little munchies, Yeah. And just sit and enjoy that moment, that twilight, that pre-sunset twilight time of day. It's still hot, but you're chilling. It's great. I think that what I'm curious is, as I said, I'm not Campari, but I'm not an apple or spritz person. It's all a matter of taste. I've started doing Cynar.
I love Cynar.
I do too. But what are some other, and we'll start with spritzes, and then I want to get to something else. Spritz type beverages that you would be creative, that are easy also to do at home, that you would recommend.
There's so many because there's such a wonderful aperitivo and fortified wine tradition in Europe that I think New Orleans is like a wonderful place for this, because we do have such a healthy, robust drinking culture. I think to incorporate aperitivo hour would be an easy sell here. There are so many more vermouths and aromatized wines and specials coming. I just tried one last night. Melanie, you will die. It's called Chambresette. Have you heard of Chambresette?
No, but it sounds like something from Emily in Paris, like Chambresette.
Oh, yeah. It is
Italian.
A tradition from like the Alpine region of France, where they take Blanc, beautiful Blanc vermouth. Blanc vermouth is a category that I don't think gets enough attention. Blanc vermouth is not as sweet vermouth. It is usually clear. It is certainly not like dry vermouth. It is floral and elegant. And one of the best makers, Dolan, has this tradition of macerating fresh strawberries. And it's called Chambresette. And you could buy it in a bottle now, a little bottle with a strawberry on it. I never tasted anything so delicious. Just top that with some bubbles or some club soda. Instant spritz. You could throw some strawberries in there too, some Ponchatoula strawberries. I also love the more alpine amaros and liqueurs that have a lot of those floral notes to them. Dark and rich like Pasubio or Braulio, or they could be light and floral like Montenegro or Amaro Nonino. So there's
love Nonino.
A wide variety of Amari and fortified wines. And then, of course, I would be remiss in not mentioning my absolute favorite fortified wine, which is sherry.
Yes, the best.
Sherry spritz. I just made one over the weekend. I did a pop-up in Memphis, and I did this drink called the Moon Goddess that used coconut water and gin and Fino sherry and orgeat. And then you could top that with like a sparkling coconut water. Oh my gosh. I mean, talk about hydrating and refreshing at the same time.
Well, I think you said a really important point. So, last night I was just we're trying to, both with hurricane season, we're trying to empty out the refrigerator and cupboard in case we lose power. Like we may be losing power this week. Who knows? So we had leftover watermelon. I crushed it all up, had that beautiful fresh watermelon. And then I realized we didn't have, I'm like, what's the spritzy part? Other than opening another bottle of champagne, and we've done 2 for Bastille Day. But somebody sent us this non-alcohol free sparkling wine, Bodvar or something, and we didn't really like it as is, but we ended up mixing it and using it as a spritz, and it came out great. I put in some basil, and I put in some pisco, Encanto pisco, and because I love pisco, and some lime, and it was delicious, and it was just like my own little creation. So for everyone listening, you can be creative in your kitchen with what you have, but vermouths. Okay, this is what I'm looking for when I go to Tales of a Cocktail: vermouths, amaros. Amaros, anything in that bitters I like, because I don't have a sweet tooth. If I eat fruit, it's got to be fresh and like macerated. So I like those bitter alpine pine flavors and licorice. I love all that. But spritz can be, as you said, sparkling coconut water. I had a sparkling no alcohol wine, which I turned into an alcohol beverage, but I could have had it as a non-alcohol by just not adding the pisco. And it would have been a spritz, non-alcohol spritz with laced with watermelon basil. You can find a lot of sparkling, and it doesn't have to be like Prosecco or white wine or sparkling wine. Yeah,
not necessarily. And you can also, like, a lot of people are afraid, like you said, of opening up another whole bottle. There's great can options too.
Yeah.
So you're only opening up a half a bottle, So if you don't want to overdo it, and you don't want to, not that there's anything wrong. I mean, leftover champagne really lasts anyway. You could also, a key for leftover champagne, mix it with the sugar, and you've made a great syrup that's used for.
Good idea.
Yeasty flavor. It's absolutely gorgeous. I love it in sidecars, sours, daiquiris. That comes in really, really handy. I mean,
great idea. And sherry, I love sherry. I used to work with wines from Spain. Love sherry. I love it plain, love it chilled. I love Amontillado. It's my favorite, but I also like a good Fino and, Palo Cortado, which I still have one. It's been open forever. I don't know if it's any good anymore, but I think I cooked with it recently.
Yeah. Absolutely.
It has a shelf life. Yeah. So I try to use everything that way, but sherries are amazing. And yes, they make all these things you can enjoy alone or mix. And then I just saw, the bitters, Krista Cotton's bitters were on the Today Show, believe it or not. I couldn't believe it. What's the name of her bitters? Krista Cotton? Yeah. And I'm going to go pick some of that there. They're bitters and soda.
Yes.
Cans. I haven't had them yet, but I was like, that sounds great.
Wonderful tradition. I mean, outside of America, you can get a lot of non-alcoholic kind of bitters and sodas, concoctions, and non-alcoholic like Aperol spritzes and bottles and stuff. That's very common in grocery stores in Europe. I'm sure you saw. And then it's adding a bitter component to something. It really elevates, I think, a standard sour or a standard daiquiri. You have the sweet, you have the sour, you add bitter, you're layering in another layer of flavor. And then you add something nutty and savory like sherry.
Yeah.
Fourth layer of flavor you're layering in. That very easy with 4 ingredients. You've created a very complex, beautiful drink. And I'm so glad you mentioned herbs too. We have. My friend's garden is exploding with herbs. She keeps giving me bushels of herbs, and I love putting in everything I'm cooking, but also everything I'm drinking.
So I'm craving, we have rosemary outside that I logged off my cousin's patio because they were renovating the patio. So we hauled it over to our place. I'm craving a mint. We have a basil plant now. But, these are wonderful herbs, but let's think about creative ways to use them. First of all, let's think about, what to do this at home, and maybe you're on a budget, but you want to have some key products and ingredients that you can mix in many ways. What would you recommend?
As far as alcohol or as far as like mixers to have?
Well, I would say, alcohol, you probably need to see the basics, but what would you have in addition to the basic vodka, rum, gin, and the brown spirits? What are some you mentioned vermouth, for example. What is it that people may not be buying that they should be putting on their bar.
Well, a lot of people, they'll buy that dry vermouth or that sweet vermouth to make a martini or Manhattan, and then it just sits there. I suggest using it. You got to use it right away. Vermouth is a wine, a fortified wine, but just like wine, you got to keep it capped, keep it refrigerated, and probably use it within a couple of months. It doesn't go bad per se. It just doesn't taste as good. And I'll tell you, even if something does get oxidized, it doesn't mean it's bad. I saw a friend of mine recently do an example of showing Saint Germain is a product that doesn't have enough alcohol or sugar in it, that once it's opened, it can oxidize and it gets dark in color. And it scares a lot of people off. Well, she did a tasting and she did a wonderful example of how it's different, but not bad. And it's just taste it. If things, if it is like turned to vinegar, cook with it. But if it's just different and richer and more, has more oxidation on it, sometimes maybe that's better for brown spirits. Maybe that has caramel notes to it. That will be good for something that's a little bit darker. So there's no, there should be no waste, first of all. So don't feel like you have to throw something out just because you've had it a long time. Taste it. It's not going to hurt you. Spritzes are what people drank when they could, and these non-alcoholic, these light alcoholics is what they drank when we couldn't drink safe drinking water. It's one of the reasons why they had so many. And they had herbal qualities because that was medicine at the time too. Yeah. So, absolutely experiment with more vermouths, with more fortified wines, Madeira, Cercial, all of these products are excellent on their own, on the rocks with just a twist, with a little side of olive, or spritzing it up, adding some club soda to it. I am one of those girls that always has like multiple cans of different flavored sodas, and I love making. I'll take a little sip out and then pour some booze in and take my can. Walking in New Orleans as we do with the little go drink in a koozie, you can make a can and make something really spritzy and refreshing.
You can, and you can, and and we have a lot of cans. Although we were out recently because we drank them all because we were so hot here. It's like, can I have more? And then we were burping a lot, so we kind of backed off the bubbles for a while, except for champagne and the spritz. I also cook with a lot of stuff. So I made for Bastille Day. We made salad niçoise, and because we're cooking in a lot to save money. And David's a great cook, so I made cherry clafouti. I learned how to pronounce. Oh yeah,
and Far Breton. I got a recipe from Far Breton, and I'm constantly getting prunes and cooking them in Armagnac and making a Far Breton. Oh my gosh, and then I snack on it. That's like my breakfast, like on the run. I
had it with yogurt with my homemade granola.
It's so French, right? Yeah. I'm like, it's eggs, it's cream, it's breakfast, right?
Yeah, it was great. And then I just grabbed some Grand Marnier because I was like, what do we have that's just been sitting around forever? Because I'm really trying to use everything up before the big one. So I just poured some stuff in. I don't measure anything. I just poured in. And it was just, I just accent a lot of our food, whether it's watermelon with some pisco or my cherry clafouti with, Grand Marnier. I just dress it up with spirits that have been sitting around that are fine, but maybe I don't know what to do with them. A lot of people, I remember, so when we were packing up my parents' house, they had a vintage bar. And I mean vintage because some of the stuff in the bar must have been from the 60s. Like liqueurs that had gold in them and stuff. And this is the coolest thing. I pulled this out. This is you can't really see it, darn, because I'm blurred. It's a Harlequin cocktail glass, so much vintage barware. It made me sad that we had to sell some of it. We had to, but I kept the vintage barware. But behind me, I blurred it so nobody could see our house. We have a cabinet filled with vintage barware and glassware, and they had so many old, products, and we were sniffing them, and some were chocolatey, and we were dying to try them, but I wasn't sure if any of them were going to kill me because they'd been there for so long. on average, when you do have that bottle of something that's not being refrigerated, what is the most what are the most shelf stable products that you can actually keep on a bar? And do you need to keep your bar at a certain temperature, like wine?
I don't think you do, as long as the alcohol is high enough and the sugar content is high enough. The sugar is a great preservative as well. You should be fine. Like I said, the example of Saint Germain, a low alcohol, low sugar a liqueur can be left on the shelf forever and turn dark brown and still be fine. So if it's definitely, if it's like an 80 proof spirit, that's good forever. Madeira is created to be baked by the sun and basically last forever as well. Port also can last a long time. So I don't think there is there should be a lot of fear around like how long these have been staying around. I'd be worried. I try to drink my wine more. And that's like the one thing I run out of is like actual wine, because I'm so afraid of like missing the drink by date. And when I have people over, I love to pop a bottle and finish those bottles. I have a whole bunch of like finished bottles on my table right now because I had a little early birthday celebration on Bastille Day. And I said, I got all this wine from California and
Today's your birthday.
Today is my birthday.
Happy birthday. That's right. What are you going to do other than talk to me? What are you going to celebrate?
I'm going to work. I'm going to work. We have an event tonight, and it's still a work day for me. So but I love to spend it with my team and spend it with the people at the International House Hotel, because it's such a wonderful, tight-knit, small, boutique hotel vibe. And I just love everyone I work with. So it's a very, very nice place to spend my birthday for sure.
Well, you're going to have to come first. You're going to come over here because we're here now for the summer, and we'll celebrate here. We'll uncork some stuff and unpop some stuff because we're trying to drink the cellar before it all gets blown away. And we'll do water aerobics together. Maybe we'll get David to do some water aerobics.
I befriended a man at the pharmacy the other day who said, I need knee surgery, but I can't get it because my heart can't take it. And I said, your knees are bothering you? I think I have something for that. And he's like, God, I wish I could afford to go to your class. I'm like, no, I'm coming to you. You have a pool? He's like, I got a pool near me. I'm like, Mr. Melvin, I'm coming to your pool and I'm going to teach you some things, because nobody should have to live in pain. It's really hard. It's really hard when I see people having a difficult time with their bodies and breaking down. And, our system is not set up to support people who have issues, and I'm going to do what I can to make him feel better. So I think it's really important. And men in particular, they get very fussy about, we're so in touch as women. We're told to be like in touch with our bodies. We obsess over our bodies, our shape, our size. And that, I think, leads us to be a little bit more aware when something is wrong. And because men are just not used to having that look on their, that microscope on their own bodies, they can miss something that could be, easily fixable. So in the pool.
Yeah. And everybody, every woman out there should be like, without nagging, saying, honey, let's set up a doctor's appointment. Let's go take a walk. Let's do this, and water aerobics is for everybody. It's very popular with seniors because it is low impact, but effective. And if you do have joint issues, I have a degenerative lower back. And my Medicare is ending. And so I'm going to be doing more water aerobics and certain types of bar to keep my core and back. And the pool is great. And you actually solved a huge problem in New Orleans, how to keep cool in the heat. You get licenses as a water aerobic instructor, and then you're in the water all the day and you're making money doing it.
And I have such a wonderful collection. I have men in my class. I have all different ages, young women. I have pregnant women. I have people who don't even know how to swim, and they're taking this as a way to kind of get over the fear of the water. And they're learning swimming as well. And so a lot of like the moves I teach them are good swimming moves as well. So that's really important to me in this community, and to be able to tap into, I'm so community based in my other job, but it's really nice to see another side of the community. And I went in to work yesterday, and my bartender was like, "Oh, you had 2 of your students from your water aerobics class came in to the bar like twice over the weekend, and they were great." And so it's really great to see them out of the water. Sometimes I don't recognize them. I'm like, "Oh, you clean up."
Well, don't you have to wear like bathing caps? It's like, "Oh, it's you. You have clothes on. I didn't recognize you.
I didn't recognize you with your hair dry."
Yeah, I mean, it's very different. Well, I just love that because and also I will say, living in New Orleans, which we've now done for a year, I have to give a shout out to New Orleans' wonderful attitude about life, which is as good as the Italians' attitude about life, and the French too. But I sometimes think New Orleans is more Italian than French. The body positivity mantra here, even though obesity is a big problem throughout the state of Louisiana and whatnot, the body positivity factor is very strong. People are confident in their bodies, many of them. And I think that's really important because living in New York, where everybody's just absolutely neurotic about their bodies and their looks, it's refreshing down here. Sometimes jarring, but very refreshing also.
One of my personal mottos that I've learned, and I think someone said this to me once, but I've adopted it on my own. To live in New York City, you have to be successful. To live in Los Angeles, you have to be good looking. But to live in New Orleans, you just have to be yourself.
Oh, and that's just the best.
I love about living here. And yes, obesity we're coming to realize that it is a medical issue and it is also a poverty and economic issue.
Yes.
Absolutely, straight up and down. And it's not a moral issue. It is not a moral failing. It is not a personal failing. It is a medical diagnosis and it is an economic side effect of poverty.
Yes.
Not eating properly. So I think it's really important to not necessarily body positively, but body understanding.
Well, it's also a movement issue. We are more sedentary. That's why a lot of children are getting obese because they're sitting in front of their computers. And that's really what is causing my degenerative back, besides years of producing events and lifting everything, because I did that for how many years? And I was always like, oh, I'll just move the table myself, or lifting boxes of wine. No, you can't do that. But the movement factor is also really important, as well as they go hand in hand with nutrition, which is why your decision to teach water aerobics so fascinates me. You have two areas of your career, your story career, that are so fascinating. One, you create these amazing libations that give people such joy and satisfaction and pleasure. And we all need more pleasure in our life. And you have a bar that truly is tiny. It's a jewel in a gem box. And I hear there's a great Japanese restaurant I'm dying to try. And you are made to feel welcome and comfortable there. And it is beautiful. It's stylish, but it's not stylish in that way where you're not feeling comfortable. Everybody is welcome. And I think that's a great balance between your helping people become stronger and more confident in their swimming and their body and their self through water aerobics, and then bringing them comfort and making them feel at home, which New Orleans does at Loa. Because one of the great things about New Orleans is the phrase "welcome home." Which people were saying to us before we even moved here. And it made us feel like finally, and I'm writing about this, finally, we have somewhere we are welcomed home and we have a place, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. We treasure our community here. It's such a unique and distinct culture that you can't find anywhere else. And we're fiercely protective of it.
Yeah.
And the people, and it's, no lie, this is a difficult city to live in for a lot of reasons. So when you choose to live here, we are so happy to have you because you add so much to the storied fabric of the city and everything that it means to everyone here, everyone in the past, and everyone in the future.
So two things. Where do you go to relax and unwind in New Orleans? And two, how would you describe yourself as a cocktail? What would you be mixed up with? What's your mix?
Where do I go to relax? Besides the pool, and New Orleans Athletic Club, which I love just being in the same pool that Tennessee Williams used to swim in.
Yeah, that sung to me because I'm a Tennessee Williams fan.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I kind of love the vibes. And there is a bar in the gym too, which is very nice to have.
Really? That's so funny. How perfectly New Orleans.
I'm so New Orleans. But often I love to take my dogs to the park, and I go to, there's a little park in the French Quarter. I just love walking around the French Quarter. I live right outside of the French Quarter, and I love my neighborhood. I love its access to the French Quarter, I have friends that live in the French Quarter, and I'll just sit on their stoop and just watch the world go by and say hi to people and see all the characters and get all the story and all the gossip. The French Quarter, people think of it as a tourist area. It is a highly residential area with its own unique, distinct neighborhood vibes. And I love being a part of that. So that's kind of where I go to chill out. If I need to go and have a little bit more space, I love City Park, and I love walking through. There's beautiful kind of eerie groves of live oaks there that I just recently found out are replanted live oaks that used to be on Claiborne Avenue, and they ripped them out when they built the highway.
Really?
And destroyed my neighborhood, cut my neighborhood, the Treme, in half with this project. Very racist, happens all over the country, where they put a highway through a thriving Black neighborhood. And Claiborne Avenue used to be full of these beautiful live oaks, and they ripped them up and they replanted them in City Park. So I go there and commune with those trees. I feel a connection to my neighborhood there. It always felt a little eerie and spooky. I wondered why I was always drawn to this particular grove of live oaks. And then I found out the history of these particular live oaks, that they were ripped out from my neighborhood. And so that's where I like to go to find peace and commune. And
I know those live oaks. I was there. That's my favorite place. Yeah.
Yeah.
Those live oaks are beautiful. The farmers market's right there, and it's magical. City Park is magical, period. And the Treme is an incredibly beautiful historic neighborhood just adjacent to the French Quarter. And I know exactly what you're talking about with the highway going through, because I hate that highway. I hate the highway. And it kind of does rip the two neighborhoods apart. And yet everybody should go see Treme. The history is great. And there's some very historic restaurants in the Treme as well, like Dookie Chase, which is just amazing.
Little Disney's for lunch, Dookie Chase, Gabrielle's. There's wonderful restaurants here. And
I want to go try Gabrielle's, not been, but I love the Sauniers, and they do a dark roux gumbo that I'm just dying to do. And I'm due a Dookie Chase lunch. We're due a little Dizzy's lunch. We're just due lunch. We've got to go out more.
There's Haitian food now too. Amazing Haitian food. Yes.
Oh, is that Queen Trini Lisa? What's that name?
Too? And wait for Thai. Yeah.
On my list, when Culinary comes, I'm hoping Culinary, because we're on a budget right now, but Culinary is this great program in New Orleans for about almost 6 weeks, six or 7 weeks, where many of the city's restaurants in August and early September, which is just deadly in terms of getting business to the city, they do these great prix lunches and dinners. And there's probably 50 restaurants that do it. And it's a great way to go out and explore for the locals as well as visitors to try different restaurants. It's also a great month because you buy one museum membership and all the other museums are free. Actually, August in New Orleans is awesome if you want to travel on a budget.
Hey, people say, oh, it's so hot. Well, guess what? We have air conditioning everywhere. You're still going to be able to go into some nice, cool air conditioned restaurants and bars and partake of everything that we have to offer, even when it's not hot here. We do the same thing. We just do a lot of it inside. And, if you have to be outside, find yourself a pool. There's a new restaurant a couple blocks from me called Lost Coyote that has a pool in the back. So you can go get drinks and then go, and they have like snacks, and they have a beautiful menu, and then go hang out in their pool.
Oh, we have to check that out. We have to check that out.
Yeah. New Orleans.
Hey, New Orleans and Company, we are giving you a huge promotional shout out. Come sponsor my show. Anyway. So describe yourself as a cocktail, or describe a cocktail that you think most defines your personality.
Well, I'll say that it's probably my favorite cocktail. One of my favorite cocktails to drink, to order. I love the history of it. I love the Adonis. If I were a cocktail, of course, I would be an Adonis. I love the story behind it. The makeup of it is essentially it's a Manhattan, a 50-50 Manhattan, but instead of rye whiskey, it uses sherry. Amontillado sherry, sweet vermouth, orange bitters. It is a beautiful cocktail. Drinks like a Manhattan, but a little lighter, And it's actually named for the first Broadway musical. It was created for the first Broadway musical in New York in the 1880s or 1890s or early 20th century. But but I think of it as an unknown classic. I think of it as dark and rich with with great bones of a classic, but light, and you can have a lot of it. So I guess that's me in a cocktail. For sure.
You kind of describe the ideal man.
Yeah, well, yeah, I'm always looking for the ideal man as well.
Sorry, David. Am I blushing or what?
My sister always said you have to be the person you want to attract. So
yeah. Well, I'll drink to that. Well, it's been really great chatting with you, Abigail. Where can our friends and followers find and follow you to learn more about what you're doing and all your wonderful advice? And
you can follow me on Instagram at Abigail Gullo. My name, ABIGAIL GULLO. I also have a website, Abigail Gullo, that you could check out. A consulting group called Spirited Destinations. If you were, and I do pop-ups. I just got back from Memphis doing a beautiful pop-up. So available for cocktail classes and pop-ups, and then that's where you can find me at Loa. Loa New Orleans is our Instagram there. I'm at Loa during the week and most nights, and definitely come visit us. My team is amazing. Right now, our menu is very New Orleans focused. It's called it's a pothole based menu. So we have drinks like Sinkhole de Mayo, Wedding in a Pothole, Salt Wedge, the Spillway 75.
Oh my God.
Puddle. It's for the locals. People come in and they're not from New Orleans and they're like, what is this menu? I'm like, oh, this is the agony and the ecstasy of living in New Orleans in the summertime.
Since we live in one of the most potholed streets in Lakeview that has not been fixed since Katrina, I so identify with that. Potholes are like legendary. I just hope we don't sink into one day.
I know.
Well, as I said, Abigail knows how to spin a story, stir a story in every glass, and that pothole series is a great example.
Look at this menu.
Oh, I love it. Well, thank you for joining me. And of course, you can always join her in the swim, and the Tennessee Williams used to swim in swimming pool at the New Orleans Athletic Club.
Yes, you could come. Yeah, come. You could be a guest, or if you're a member at the New Orleans Athletic Club, come check out one of our water aerobics classes. We have a really good time. Ooh. And I'd love to see you there.
All right. Well, thank you very much. A toast to you, and let's get together and do some water aerobics together and have a drink in the pool and be like,
I can't wait to spritz it up with you, baby.
That's right. Me too. I hope everybody's enjoyed this show. I have. I'm in the spirit, and we love the spirit of New Orleans. So come on down and visit. Go to Loa Bar. Check out Abigail's website. Come down and support this wonderful city in the hottest time of the year, because it is the best time of the year to be here if you want to get great food and drink at a great price. Yes. And, entertain people at home. Enjoy, have an aperitivo, don't rush, learn to sip, savor, and enjoy life, because you have a choice on how you live life. You can choose it, and you should choose it on your terms. And I say choose fearless and fabulous. Thank you. Follow me, Melanie Fabulous, and have a great day.